ESPR Boxing, we are back. There are three of us here. That means only one thing. That means we're in deep fight, breakdown mode. Joined by Niall and Owen, and we're here to unpick the fight that's taking place at the O2 Arena. Heavyweight fight, British Commonwealth titles on the line. Frazer Clarke versus Fabio Wardley. Lads, absolutely delighted to be joined by you both here. A fight which I think I'm in agreement we're all looking forward to for various reasons. I don't think too much needs to be said really about both fighters. Only really, I suppose, look, Fabio Wardley, 17-0, 16 KOs, big puncher. Less experienced, Frazer Clarke, 8-0, comes into 6 KOs, but obviously there's a difference in CVs, difference in experience, but it is for the British and Commonwealth titles. Lads, let's get straight into it. I'm going to ask you a question first and foremost, because we've got Owen on the line. And Owen's a bit of a specialist when it comes to talking about retirement. And this fight obviously involves Frazer Clarke, who's not necessarily old. He's only like, 32, but obviously turned over late. And I think there's obviously that sense of catching up. What I want to ask you, Owen, I'm going to start with you here is this actually all or nothing for Frazer Clarke? Like, if Frazer Clarke loses here, can he come again? Or do you think that'll be his level and he maybe fight again for British, but it'll be no higher than that?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely spot on. I think for Frazer Clarke, he turned over late. We were promised that he was going to fly through the ranks. It was going to be a quick progress, a massively quick succession of fights, a decent level of opponent to start with and gradually improve that. But I don't think we've seen that. I don't think we've seen anything from Clarke personally where I sit and go, good sort of decent fighter. Even British level is a bit of a stretch for me. I think this sort of I wouldn't necessarily say all or nothing, but I think if Clarke wants to go on and fight at a higher level, then he needs to win this. I think he can come again. You look at the top of the heavyweight division. Obviously, he's never going to get anywhere near that, in my opinion. But the top of the heavyweight division are all mid to late 30s. So there's no reason why age can hold him back. I just think if Fabio Wardley beats him at the stage of his career he's at, is he ever going to go higher than British level? Absolutely not. So in terms of where Clarke said he wants to fight at a higher level, then 100% this is a must-win fight for me.
No, I actually yes, I have to agree. But no, we're going to come to you and ask whether you can cast. So you're nodding, obviously, a few of the points that Owen raised there. Again, do you agree that this is essentially all or nothing for Frazer Clarke? Do you think he could come again, maybe for the British, or do you think if he's got any aspirations of fighting higher, this is it, and he won't be able to come again if he loses this?
Yeah, I have to echo everything Owen said. To be honest, I think it is definitely all or nothing. It has to be, the things that Frazer Clarke was touted for with his amateur background turning over. If he wants to reach anywhere near that, he has to get past a Fabio Wardley type level, British level. No disrespect to Wardley. I'm a big Wardley fan, but where Frazer Clarke is looking to go compared to where Wardley was touted for, he has to come through this. Frazer Clarke does definitely. Um, yeah, it's just he can definitely come again, especially as you say for a British, even a Commonwealth. But I don't think Frazer Clarke is in the pro game for just British and Commonwealth titles. To be honest, he's looking at world titles, and as Alan mentioned as well, he's turned over quite late. He's not majorly old, but time definitely isn't on his side. So he does need to get past Wardley at the first time asking here for me.
No, I totally agree as well. And I think, well, let's touch on it. Owen touched on it there about, the sort of ceilings that fighters potentially go to and how if Fraser Clarke doesn't win this, Owen did also make the point, and I don't disagree with it, actually, about whether where both men are at, whether they could even get to world level, whether they get to the top of the division. But I'll start with you, Niall, really, and ask you first and foremost where you think the ceiling for both fighters is, and also if we could take a look at maybe the sort of British scene. Obviously, you've got those elite fighters, Joshua Fury, then you've got other fighters like Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce, even Chisora. Let's put him in the mix. Then the likes of Wardley, Clarke, Dacres, Adler, all those sort of names. Where do you see these two possibly getting to, Niall? Do you see these two maybe even challenging up maybe somewhere like Daniel Dubois? Do you think he's beyond them? Joe Joyce, do you think he's beyond them? Where do you kind of rank them really on a British scene?
I think now that you said that, I think the likes of kind of Dubois or Joyce might be their peak, that sort of level. They're not going to get near world titles. They're just too far down the pecking order for world titles now at this stage of the game. So I can't see that, but I can see them reaching a good level. Obviously, the winner of this will be British Commonwealth champion. That'll push them on the European level then, and I think the winner of this could definitely hold their own at European level, probably be the best there. Uh, Fabio Wardley keeps kind of making a mockery of the levels and the ceiling that people assumed he'd have. So who knows? And it's not the strongest division either. Outside of say the champions or Fury and Usyk and maybe the likes of Joshua Wilder, it's not a strong division at all. So they're definitely more than capable. Fraser Clarke has the boxing, the skill, and the technical ability to do well, and Wardley has the power and the grit. So while I can't see them reaching world level, I think solid European level and maybe the likes of, as you said, Joyce or Dubois, why not? They're still top class heavyweights in their own right. Like so, yeah, I'd say that European level would be their ceiling, I'd say.
Owen, European level, do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I think when you look at especially Fabio Wardley's last fight, although it was for the British and Commonwealth, it was also for the WBO European. I know that's not the actual European, but if you're winning a title like that, then I don't see any reason why you can't fight for the actual EBU European title. I think either fighter should be looking to go to that sort of stage next. Like you say, out of the names you mentioned, obviously, Sol Dacre's English champ. I really think that's Solomon Dacre's level, to be honest. I don't think he's any higher. I watched him live, go life and death with Bracamonte, and that was enough for me to know that. I think Joyce, as Niall said, you Joyce, you Dubois. I even think Dubois might be out of reach. I think Joyce would probably be the peak British level that they could get in the ring with. And yeah, I do think European's fair, but any higher than that, we're talking sort of Rocky Fielding, Canelo levels for me. If you ever the likes of Fabio Wardley or I know Frazer Clarke's got that massive amateur background, but seeing him in the pros, you stick either of them to him with your Usyks, your Furies, your Joshuas. I think the whole world knows how it's going to finish.
No, I totally agree. I think no, I agree with you. I think to be honest, European level is where these both guys are both at, despite the sort of bravado that's been shown, especially by Fabio Wardley. Let's touch on a bit, I suppose, of both men's records here. So I mentioned obviously introduction, Fabio Wardley, 17 and over 16 KOs, has blown everyone he's faced away apart from one guy, I think in a 4 rounder many years ago. So obviously on those names, you got David Adlai's on that record, Nate Gorman. Nick Webb, Molina, guys that obviously been I suppose renowned to sort of boxing fans. You look at Frazer Clarke's record, 8 and 0, 6 KOs. But again, you're looking at Dave Allen, a surprise victory last time out against Dave Allen, a man obviously been out the ring for a long time. Marius Watch as well, who's obviously been around, the heavyweight scene. I want you to sort of give me a sort of sense of how you think both men can win this. And I'm going to start with you, Niall, and let's talk about Frazer Clarke actually. How do you think Frazer Clarke can potentially beat Fabio Wardley? How can he something potentially negate that power? Do you think he's got to essentially fight power with power? Do you think he should maybe utilize technique a bit more? How do you see him potentially win this fight, please? Just maybe get a couple of minutes or less on how you think he's gonna prevail.
I think well, definitely not fight power with power. That's what he has to avoid. I think he has to use his boxing brain here. Realize what he does better than Wardley. He's a better boxer by a considerable distance. He's quicker too. Might not have the edge in power, but he needs to put that amateur background into use here, that skill, and he needs to set traps for Wardley. He needs to get Wardley coming onto him, get Wardley as aggressive as he can, almost off, not totally off the back foot, but set those traps. Use your hand speed, good variety of shots, and just yeah, he needs to put on a boxing clinic here against Wardley. As I say, what he does better than Wardley, he needs to make that count to his advantage big time. So yeah, on the back foot, make Wardley the aggressor, faster hands, better boxing brain, set traps and pick him off as he comes in. That's how Clarke could win this one for me.
Oh, and do you agree? Do you reckon back foot boxing, like you say, and using his hand speed, trying to essentially outthink Fabio Wardley here rather than go power to power? Is that how you see Clarke prevailing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Clarke is the more schooled. He had a much better, obviously, amateur career with Fabio Wardley coming through the white collar scene. So coming from white collar boxing to being a British Commonwealth and WBO European champion is pretty sensational in itself. I think Clarke, in terms of pedigree, it's levels and levels above Fabio Wardley. But we've seen Wardley, he's just got raw, natural power. He's not the best boxer, and I think he openly admits that himself, but his knockout record speaks for itself. So I think Clarke's got to try and avoid those big sort of big right hands. Box on the back foot, use your boxing skill and brain. And although it might seem quite boring, I think he's just got to look for a wide sort of 6, 7, 8 rounds point decision. And if the stoppage comes, it comes. But like I say, box on the back foot, make Fabio Wardley miss with everything, and just make it an easy night's work. But like I say, if Wardley's power and his KO percentage, it highlights that if you get caught, obviously it's a dangerous game, you're going out. But I think definitely boxing on the back foot is ideal. And if he tries to take the fight to Wardley, then it'll be interesting.
Let's touch on that. Let me pick you up on that, Owen, as well. So you were talking obviously about, look, Frazer Clarke's supposed to be 6'5". If your block Shrek is to be believed, Wardley's 6'5". Wardley's 6'5", Frazer Clarke 6'6". Do you think you're talking about power there? Do you think for Wardley then the key to victory is essentially just a steamroller forward and try and catch Clarke? Obviously, use experience that he has. We've seen Clarke before put in some fairly average performances. Frankly, his conditioning's looked off on several occasions as well. Do you think just literally come straight at him from the get go and start, try and bomb him out of there? Do you see that potentially as being the best method of victory for Fabio Wardley?
Yeah, I don't think there's any potentially about it. I think that is the route he needs to go. I just think, like you say, although things do change in the pro ranks, and like you say, we have seen a couple of, I wouldn't say stinkers, but below par performances from Frazer Clarke. But boxing math never actually maths. So I think if you try and box with someone who's got a much better pedigree, had a much longer amateur career, I think it's a stupid decision. I think he's got to take the fight to him, try and draw Frazer Clarke into Fabio Wardley's style of fight, make it messy, and look to land those big shots, because I think Fabio Wardley knows himself he's not going to outbox Frazer Clarke. And if he does, it'd be a big surprise to the majority of boxing fans. So yeah, I think get out the doors nice and early, try and avoid those traps that Frazer Clarke will set, and essentially back him on box on the front foot and back him into a corner and unload. I think pushing the fight is the best way for Fabio Wardley, and if he catches him, then it's sort of, if he catches him early, puts Frazer Clarke on the back burner and opens the fight up.
Niall, do you agree? Come forward, get him into the corner, back him up, open the fight up.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree with everything Owen said there. I think he has to. Like Fabio Wardley cannot win this fight on points. He just can't. And as Owen said, I think he knows that himself. So get it into a firefight where Clarke doesn't want to be, and ideally tag him early, get his respect early with the power, and just keep it on him. Just bring the heat all night and keep it on him. And yeah, utilize the power, the grit, the power advantage that you do have to just make it as, I don't want to say ugly as possible, but as intense as possible, just to utilize your strengths. As you mentioned, Clarke's gonna try and box. So if you're Wardley, just pull on him straight away on his chest and dig in and stay there for the night and hopefully hurt him early and possibly get him out. Of course, he could win on points with a couple of knockdowns, but it's unlikely. So I do think he will have to knock him out. He's capable of doing it. Of course, he has the power to do it and the chin. So it's just a matter of kind of execute now. But yeah, I agree with everything Owen said there. I think that has to be the game plan for Wardley here.
Thank you very much, lads. Well, look, this it's the big fight breakdown. We cannot leave the big fight breakdown without this time of the video, which is predictions, and that's how I'd like to end it. Now I'm going to I'm actually going to go back to you, Ireland, over Coventry, and this time you're going to start us off here. And we've obviously given the breakdowns there. You said that you think it's looking like Clarke either back foot, uses boxing brain, Wardley come forward, bomb him out of there. Niall, you first. Who wins this fight? Greenwich O2 Arena. Who wins this fight and how?
This might be a bit surprising, but I just have a feeling that Frazer Clarke skills him here. I think he boxes rings around him. He just exposes Wardley's shortcomings, and I'm a Wardley fan. I love watching Wardley fight, and what he's done from the background he's come from is outstanding, and he's always exciting to watch. But he definitely has shortcomings, in terms of boxing IQ, and he's easily tagged. And I just think Clarke will just pick him off all night, makes his shots up well, too quick, too clever for him. And I think he wins this wide on points. Almost makes it a bit boring. I think the schooling he's going to give Fabio Wardley here, to be honest, I think people are going to be saying after, whoa, we expected so much, and it Clarke delivered a big performance, and he's well overdue a big performance. He's underwhelmed so far, but yeah, I think he absolutely skills Fabio Wardley here on points. So
You on,
yeah,
son.
Clarke decision for me. Wide Clarke points here.
Owen, we haven't discussed this before the video, so I actually don't know what you're going to say here. Do you agree or disagree with Niall there?
I'm going to do both. I think Frazer Clarke is going to school him for the vast majority of the fight, but I've just got a feeling Fabio Wardley is going to catch him very late in the day after 7, 8, 9 rounds of just be having his head boxed off, and I think he's just going to land almost potentially that shot from the gods. He's going to hurt Frazer Clarke late, and then he's going to stop him. So it makes a good video, but yeah, I'm going to go Fabio Wardley, very late stoppage.
You know, well, that leaves the deciding vote with me then. And I actually am going to go with I'm going to side with Coventry, to be perfectly honest with you. I think the reason I'm going with that is because I think I look at Frazer Clarke, and obviously he's been a 10 rounder, but other than that, he's been in, you know, sort of 6 round fights. I feel this is over 12 rounds. I feel that Wardley's got the condition, he's got the experience, and I think he'll catch him as well. I think Frazer Clarke could well be up midway through the fight, but I think he'll at some point get bombed out of there. So I'm actually going to go with Owen there, and I'm going to go with Wardley KO somewhere, sort of maybe somewhere around the 8th round, 8 to 10, something like that. I think could definitely happen. But guys, that's all we've got time for. Thank you, obviously, for those of you that are watching. Let us know, obviously, in the comments whether you agree or disagree with anything we've covered today. You know, where you think the ceiling of these fighters are, how the keys to victory as well, and who you actually think is going to win. We'll obviously have other content coming up from the card as well. You know, we'll have other reviews, other previews, interviews with fighters that are featuring. All I want to say now is, Niall, Owen, thank you very much for joining me. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching.